interesting. But first, let me advise politicians. I mean, to fear people who work with paparazzi camera guys. They will put you into trouble. And that's exactly what has happened.
How is this happening this time? Because I'm told he does this regularly. How is it that in all of those occasions he was never recorded?
He does that regularly, but unfortunately, just like the note you said, the person in the conversation has stance in politics even before the election. I've heard people say that Sammy and Agrada are friends already, and so most of the time, anytime they meet, Sammy would want to, do the needful. Just like in the video, Doguzo, he said what Mambibi Kakra. Maybe that is a term between the two. But once he's into public office now, I know to say when into public office, there are certain things you dare not do because it will come back to the conversation, and especially when government is fighting to try to bring the CD to let the CD appreciate. This government condemned the previous administration by hoarding dollars when the Adapa issue came. So one would expect that if a government condemned hoarding dollars into homes, then why would that same government be giving out dollars? It means that if this amount of dollars, I don't know the amount of dollars, in the car anyway, but if there's this amount of dollars in the car, it means that some more can be found in the house.
Two different scenarios.
It's all ifs and buts.
Of course.
Yeah.
Two different scenarios.
But you see,
where he keeps his money, I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I'm only
two different scenarios.
I'm only connecting the.
But let me bring to your attention.
No, if he can land,
and it makes the conversation beautiful. This one is not an interview; it's a discussion. Allow me. Let me bring it to your attention that it is not illegal for a citizen or an expatriate of our country to keep a dollar account.
Nobody has said it's illegal.
So supposedly he keeps a dollar account.
It's none of my business. It's even up to him. Yeah.
Phew. For it is $1. For it is $1, and he counted it plenty. Or at worst $10.
Please, it's not $10.
From what I have seen, it's not $1.
50 or 100.
So I wouldn't get into that conversation.
50 or 100.
It wasn't $1. That one I can see.
Kwame, everything is wrong. Nano has pushed me to the wall. Everything about the donation or the gifting is wrong. Or the help is wrong. Especially justifying it that you were giving it to a needy. That even destroys the whole conversation.
Agrada is not a needy person.
No, she cannot be a needy. She can never be considered as a needy person per her stance and what she's been talking about in the past. Sammy might be very generous in giving out to people and all that. She
was in need at that time.
At that time, where at somebody's funeral, you are going to be a needy person at somebody's funeral. What is wrong with you? So, like I said in the morning, if the money was given to the bereaved, probably the conversation would have been that, oh, is this a token to support the funeral? But you are a guest at the funeral, so you cannot be a needy. That place was not an orphanage home to collect money and go and spend. And the conversation about he being a public officer, especially when they are talking about PMMC now Gold Board, where they are trying to keep export of gold in exchange of our dollars, and the city will appreciate. There is everything wrong with what the gestures were, because now the conversation is that, oh, so very now that you become the managing director of whatever, I'm sure that there's some kind of gold trading. And yesterday the conversation was when he shared the apology. The conversation was that, oh, since you became the managing director for Gold Board, you sold what
X amount of gold.
Because
gold. They published the figures last week.
Now 2.79 billion.
X amount of gold, and per the dollars that came, what you cut and a woody issue.
But that is extreme, to be fair.
Of course. But you know the Ghanaian mentality. Just as you know, you said, the large number of people who are disappointed and depressed about how they had to suffer under the previous administration, and the conversation about we are coming to reset the country, one would have thought that the government appointees and the entire government would do things totally different from what Ghanaians experienced in the past. If Sister Dapa was caught hoarding dollars in her room, a country or an official that preach against should not be seen with donations or giftings of a foreign currency. But I like the fact that he's apologized. Yes, you know, just signing him saying the for one way or the other. It was just a kind gesture. It was not.
It was supposed to be a kind gesture.
Supposed to,
but it's turned out to be something else.
Because of paparazzi, the impact and the effect of paparazzi. And if you know Agrada very well, she might want to do this to just, you know, get more fans. Like
and they didn't understand the implications of what she did.
Good. But in trying to get more fans on social media is kind of landing someone into trouble. The apology is well accepted, just like Doc said, where the issue of giving it to the needy shouldn't have come in at all. But I plead with organizations. I read last night that Transparency International are calling for, together with other people who are calling for the head of Sammy Gyamfi. Please, let's calm down. To err is human. We cannot say we are forgiven entirely. But if there's supposed to be any punishment, dismissal should not be part of the conversation. Dismissal should not be part of the conversation. If the point established is that it was just a gift, these are things that I normally do, and so I mean, it's one of those things. Dismissal should not be part of the conversation.
What should be part of the conversation?
Well, I am not in a position to.
No, but once you are offering a suggestion, then maybe you are looking at it from another angle as well. So what should be part of the conversation if he shouldn't be fired?
Dismissal. I stand by it that dismissal should not be part of the conversation.
Is that punitive enough, or is corrective?
Charlie,
what will be corrective?
What will be for me
to serve as a deterrent to another public official. As a deterrent, so if you're not sacking him, what are you doing?
Maybe a suspension or deduction of what do you call it? Salaries.
The West should be 2 months salary.
For an organization like this, you cannot suspend the CEO. It means so much to the economy of Ghana. It's either you're keeping him or you're letting him go.
I'm saying that deduction at West you did that is 2 months.
Then I get closer to the microphone.
I'm saying that West you did that just 2 months salary.
What would that do?
What has he done?
No, I'm just like, you are calling for 2 months, and I'm saying, what would that do? Because if you say he's done nothing wrong, then why are you even calling for a deduction?
To serve as a correctional measure, and also to serve as a deterrent to others. Because
which will guide public officers.
That money means so much to an employee. And if 2 months of your salaries are to be suspended,
I have my doubts. I have my doubts if the option will be to let him go. I have my doubts. No, but I'm also thinking.
No, don't have your doubt.
What can the current administration do to, if you like, act in a way that will be acceptable to Ghanaians?
Don't have your doubt. If
Mr. Gyamfi stays, what could they do? Because someone asked me this very simple question yesterday, and I'll pose it to the three of you before we move on. Would Mr. Gyamfi ever be in a position again to criticize any other person along these lines when they ever come up?
Yes.
Where any other person means what?
Any other person. You just said you know how we do things in our country. Would he ever be able to ever speak to an alleged corruption conversation again, or anything that is wrong again?
As for the
would he be?
We were stretching the matter.
Nobody has said he's corrupt.
No, I'm saying
nobody has said that. But would he ever be in a position to even speak to issues like this if they come up? on the back of, and you know how we do things here. People have brought out receipts on all that he said in the case of Madame Cecilia Dapa.
Yeah.
Auntie Cici did not steal anybody's money.
Yeah.
It was her own money. As
But
we speak, nobody has been able to
donations.
prove. Nobody has able to prove that she stole any money from anywhere. And the receipts are there, the videos are there. If you want to go and see them, you can go and see them.
Donations.
Whatever you want to call it. Sammy has not stolen any money either.
Yeah.
I am not aware of anybody complaining that their funds are missing, or Gold Ball complaining, like Nana said, that their funds have been stolen or they are missing, for want of a better word. But it is the acts behind it. You remember in the case of Auntie Cici, what egged a lot of Ghanaians was when she said that money was funeral donations. Because you and I go to funerals, then it must have been some kind of people who attended that funeral. In the same case with Sammy, nobody is saying he's stealing any money, but it is the acts and what he has said after, like a woman in need.
Please, let's get our listeners to understand that Agradaa is not in need. So that couldn't have been right. And that is why I think that Sammy may not even have chance on that letter. But two, let us not overstretch the matter.
No, just hold it for me. Let me engage Mr. Emmanuel Wilson Jr. He's the chief crusader of the Crusaders against corruption. He's joined us on the line. Mr. Wilson, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
It's been a while. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, it's really been a while. I'm doing well.
Is this a tight one for the current administration?
Well, the truth of the matter is, as I've consistently been saying, if you are dealing with matters of corruption, the foundation on which corruption lands is what we call perception. And so it is not really the action, because the action comes with intention, and that constitutes it. But most importantly, the perception, how it is perceived, that is what will make or unmake anything called corruption. Whether or not this is a tight one for the government, I think that it is rather unfortunate that this will come at this time. And the reason why it's unfortunate is that since the government took office this past 3 or so months, or 120 days plus, from all indications, there are elements suggesting that the system is working. And the government is more or less enjoying some positive appreciations and positive receivers from the citizens. Unfortunately, this coming in right after a code of conduct has been launched suggests clearly that this government has been put at a tight corner, and Ghanaians are expecting this government to act in a manner that will restore confidence again into the government, particularly when it comes to the fight against corruption. Remember that this is not new. It so happened, a similar thing happened in the year, I think 2016 or 2015, in the matters of Victoria Hammer. Victoria Hammer professed that she needed to make a certain amount of money. She didn't make the money. It actually did not constitute corruption. But the perception out there, it communicated a certain perception. And that is what led to her dismissal. And so if perception can lead to the dismissal of Victoria Hammer, I mean, as I indicated, a similar thing is what has just happened. As unfortunate as it may be, it is just riding on perception. How come the same person some months back, prior to the election, will sit on TV stations and radio stations and say that Ghanaians are struggling to even enjoy a 3 square meal? You know, and right after 3 or so months after coming into office, this same person is seen not just giving out any money, but giving out dollars, hard currency. Where did he get the money from? It is his money. But how did he get the money overnight? Within 4 months, he's now not giving out CDs, but he's giving out dollars. The perception. And so, if you look at the code of conduct, which talks about transparency, integrity, which talks about appointees, making sure that they do not live in any affluent life. And then you see this happening. Indeed, it is a tight one. And it is a tight one because the code of conduct will only be taken seriously when it is implemented. And that is why the government has the government to be at a tight position.
At this point, what would likely be the next line of action with respect to the individual involved and the optics for governments? You just mentioned on the back of the 120-day achievements and on the back of His Excellency issuing out a code to his appointees. This appears to be, if you like, eroding any gains that the government has made on this in the last few days.
It's not. It is actually the action by the government after this incident that will let us know whether or not any gain that has been made will be eroded or will not be eroded. And that is why I agreed with you earlier on by saying that it's a tight one for the government. If the government allows it to go, I can tell you on authority that it will be a dent on the image of the government and the gains the government has made over this past year.
So the
government must be seen taking action. This morning, I have heard that the Chief of Staff has invited the gentleman in question for some questioning. I don't know what is happening or what is going on or what kind of questioning is engaging or the Chief of Staff is engaging the gentleman in question. But whatever it is, the government must be seen taking decisive action. It can be any action. It can be suspension, it can be dismissal, it can be reassignment, it can be anything. But the government must be seen taking action. If the government does not take any action, it will render the code of conduct, useless. And it will also, to a very large extent, affect that image that has been taken successfully so far by the government that is into fight corruption. We have the oral work that has taken place. We have other, actions and inactions that have taken place at this office. That says that they are committed to the fight against corruption. You can only fight corruption when you start fighting it on perceived grounds. And this is a classical example. And so, yes, as it stands now, the gains of the government, I don't think it will be affected. It will only be affected based on the action or the reactions of the government on this matter.
How much of a lesson should this be for appointees under this administration?
A very big lesson. And again, we should remember that this is something that has come into the public domain. The question is, what if it had not come into the public space? Nobody would have known. And so clearly, there's nothing, especially in the life of government, there's nothing that is done that goes hidden. At the appropriate time, everything will come out. Whichever means, it will surely come out. And so the appointees that may be even engaging in serious activity, serious than what we have seen, but because theirs have not come into the public space, no one is talking about it. They should just be rest assured. That is just a matter of time. And they should know that nothing goes hidden, particularly in the life of governance. If you are engaged in governmental affairs, anything you do, it will surely come to light at the right time. They should take a cue from it. And that is why it is very important that the government, in taking an action or making sure that the right things are done in the life of the appointees, this should be taken seriously. And an action must be taken, not just to serve as a deterrent for the gentleman in question, but also for all the appointees. They must, the man acting the president or the presidency must take a significant action. That is what Ghanaians are looking for. And I must say that since this issue came up, I have followed it keenly. And I'm really amazed at particularly some NDC or most NDC individuals condemning what has happened. It tells you that it is not just an issue of even opposition parties, but even within the NDC themselves. They are so wide awakened that they are interested in protecting the goodwill of the government. And that is why the government must take an action. Take an action to serve as a significant warning to the appointees. Take an action to protect the image and the gains that has been made over this past period. Action must be taken.